That scene is by way of introducing our next guest, who is the actress you just saw from the motion picture film Sounders. So why don't we welcome Miss Cicely Tyson to Soul. Cicely, I don't know how many people in our television audience has seen Sound, but why don't you tell us just a little bit about what the storyline is?
Basically, the storyline is about a sharecropper's family and their struggle for survival during the Depression. That's basically what it's about.
And you play the role of the sharecropper's wife.
Yes.
And is it an easy thing or is it a difficult thing, recreating the role, recreating?
I can't say it was difficult, Ellis. I can only say that when I first read the script, I knew that I had to do it. I knew that I had to do it for several reasons. Number one, I hadn't done a movie in 3.5 years. I hadn't done one since The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. Number two, there hasn't been a role written for a black actress that had that kind of depth and dimension in it. Thirdly, I think, and I thought it was time for the black woman to appear on the screen as a human being rather than as a Barbie doll, a sex symbol, a addict, or all of the things that we have been forced to deal with in the past few years in films. And
it's a very positive creation. Since you've done it, has it liberated you in any way? Do you think you'll be able to go on and do some of the things you'd like to do?
Well, I hope that because of Sounder and because of my portrayal of Rebecca, that now I will be able to do roles simply because I'm a good actress rather than a black actress.
Do you know any particular role you might want to do?
Well, I never talk about what I want to do.
Cicely, you're extremely beautiful. Your hair looks exquisite.
Thank you.
So your hair looks absolutely exquisite. Thank you. You're kind of prophetic in that way, because I remember it's quite a while back when you first started wearing your hair in an afro hairstyle. You did that for a television program, wasn't it?
Well, initially when I did it to play a role of an African woman in, so far back I don't even want to say, but it was a Camera 3.
Yeah,
and it was a show entitled Between Yesterday and Today. And all during rehearsal my hair bothered me because then I was wearing it straightened and very conventional. And the night before we did the show, it was a Saturday night, the show was being done live, I walked into a barber shop and I asked the barber to cut it off. And of course he thought I was insane, and it took him about 3 hours to cut my hair. When I finally convinced him that what I wanted him to do was to cut it off as short as possible, wash it so that it would go back to its natural state. Well, I walked into the studio the next morning with my head wrapped, and I went to costume and makeup, and when I was through, the director said, okay, let's go, and I took off the kerchief, and there I was with my hair very closely cropped and in its natural state. And of course, a silence prevailed all over the place. And the only consolation I had was that he couldn't fire me because the show was being done live. And he walked over to me and he said, Cicely, you cut your hair. And I said, yes, I did. And he said, I wanted to ask you to do it, but I didn't have the nerve. So it was free sailing. Of course, I was seen on that television show by the producers of the Blacks. I went into the Blacks, and that lasted 3 years. And I went into East Side, West Side. And it was during East Side, West Side when I began to get letters from hairdressers all over the country complaining about the fact that they were losing their business because everybody was going natural. And I kind of take
They can't complain about the braids.
No, well, you know what, Ellis, we were so hung up about our hair that, I mean, we were led to believe that it was unattractive and because it was nappy or kinky and all of those things. And I hope that by now, it's been 12 years for me, and I hope by now we've come through that thing. And I think the braids is the other end of that whole line, you know, from the natural, where when I wore it, people looked at me and said, why don't you go home and comb your hair or do something else. Even my mother went through a whole thing about that. I mean, she forbid me to come and visit her because she thought she was embarrassed about the whole thing. And I think hair got completely out of proportion. If you want to straighten it, you straighten it. If you want to wear it natural, you wear it natural. But you shouldn't be made to feel embarrassed because you are dealing with your God-given whatever it is.
Yeah, and how you want it to be. I agree with that. I have told you, and I'm certain many other people have told you, and I'm not going to deal with any of the criticisms of Sounder because I kind of feel the critics are irrelevant, and especially as we're beginning a phase of black films. But I'm going to deal with awards. Do you think it would be of any significant value if, say, you were to win an Academy Award for your portrayal of Rebecca?
Well, I'm going to go back a little bit and deal with the sound of the film, because initially when it was done, there was a lot of anxiety as to whether or not blacks would support it. The producers were, and, you know, everybody involved with Sounder. And I couldn't understand the concern. I said, you know, that I thought it was a film that dealt with us as human beings who happen to be black in this society. And I overheard several times producers and directors say, blacks don't want to see themselves that way. Well, I was incensed because, you know, my whole feeling is, let me make my decisions about what I want to see. And we were not given a choice. We were given one specific type of film, and that was all. Nobody said, well, this is Sounder and this is whatever the other film is. You have your choice. I demand a choice as a human being. And I think that the success of Sounder has proven them wrong so far, and I hope that it will continue to do so. Now, about the